wanted the best? You've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com, thechrisvossshow.com. I need to hire like an opera singer to come in and do that bit for 15 years, 10 years or something. We've had to do it. I need to hire an opera singer to come in, like one of those ones that's got the horns on her head that's always in the comics that you see. And she just sings that. But that might be weird. I don't know. I'd probably have to pay her too. So it's cheaper just for me to do it, folks, which is why it sounds as cheap as it does. But I do love that you run up to me at shows and go, "The Chris Voss Show!" And I'm like, "Security, run." And then I have my team tackle you and throw you to the ground, and you can talk to Secret Service after that. No, I don't. I'm not that sort of person. Anyway, guys, we have amazing authors on the show. For 15 years, we've been bringing you the most brilliant minds, the billionaires, the CEOs, the newsmakers, the Pulitzer Prize winners, the great authors, all that sort of good stuff. And then little old me, I was on the show too. I'm just the guy with the mic, and they put the name in the title. I paid extra $5 for that. So there you go. Our amazing author that we have on deck today, who's going to blow your mind, rearrange your mindset, change your life, and make you think of things in new ways that you have never thought of before, joins us on the show today. And I put so much pressure on him for just making this whole bit up. And he's just sitting on the other side going, "What the hell did I get myself into? I just wrote a damn book, for hell's sakes." But no, he is going to do all that, and I assure you he will. His newest book just came out May 11th, 2022, Branding Queens. Kim Rozdeba joins us on the show today. He's going to be talking to us about his amazing book and what went into it. We'll be talking about branding, marketing, all that sort of stuff we talk about on the Chris Voss Show, building brands, books, et cetera, et cetera. He is an author, blogger, and branding guru. He has guided some of the Fortune 500's oldest and most iconic brands. He has over 3 decades of strategic planning, branding, and executing multi-million-dollar advertising and marketing campaigns, PR and corporate communications in the agriculture, pharmaceutical, petroleum, airline, telecommunication, and automotive industries. He recently published his first book, Branding Queens, which is about 20 incredible women who built a global brand dynasties. And his goal is showing up is to share his branding knowledge with those eager to listen and learn, which we all are now on the show. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. And I think you could be my PR person.
There you go. I've had a few people say that I should walk around and be their town crier. Like I introduce them as the medieval sort of sense where anytime they walk into the town square, I hear ye, Kim Rozdeba has entered the square. All children, women, children, one and all, come around and listen to the wise man. So give us your .com, Kim, so we can find you on the interwebs, please.
So it's really easy. It's Rozdeba, ROZDEBA.com.
There you go. So let's ask you, give us a 30,000 overview of this book.
Sure. It's about 20 women who started a business from ground zero. Each is a story of its own in the book. So the nice thing about it is you can read one each night and learn about an incredible woman, how they started an iconic brand.
There you go.
And throughout it, I try to frame it under the understanding of what is a brand and how do you build a brand.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So what motivated you to write this book about these 20 women?
So do you know Veuve Clicquot, the champagne?
Yeah, I do. I think I've gotten mucked up on it before.
Okay. Do you know what Veuve translated in English is? I didn't.
Alcoholism?
So it's okay. No, it's widow. So on the label, it says Widow Clicquot. I never knew that. And I when I discovered that, I'm going, why would somebody put a widow on a label of a very nice champagne?
There you go.
And then I discovered that Nicole Barbara Clicquot actually was the person behind the brand. And she built this brand to be an international champagne. So that was the start. And I'm going, but why did she put widow on it? Did she have to? This is going back to 1810. That was the first time she put out her product into the marketplace. And I'm going, why? Why would she put widow? Was it because it was legally required at that time? I mean, women were second-class citizens. They had no rights. Was it sympathy? So this was my journey to find out why she did this on a brand. And you'll have to read the book to find out why.
You have to read the book to find out. There you go. Good tease. Good tease. I love it. We love the teases on the show because then people have to go buy the book to find out. Honestly, I've been on quite a few journeys drinking champagne as well, but that's another story. You know what I mean? We've all had those nights there at the clubs or whatever. In fact, we used to throw incredible champagne parties at my house that were pretty interesting. So give us a bit of your background. What, I kind of alluded to some of it in your biography read, but tell us in your words, kind of what some of your upbringing history is, kind of what shaped you as a person, et cetera, et cetera.
So I grew up Vancouver Island. And for those that don't know the geography in Canada, that's the furthest western you can go in Canada. It's right off of Vancouver. There's an island. That's where I grew up. I went to University of Toronto, which is the center of the universe in Canada. I went to U of T. But before that, I actually went and did a year traveling around Europe. I'm going to age myself by telling you that I actually traveled $10 a day. That would be impossible today. I don't even think you could do an hour in Europe for $10. But I was there for a year, and I started to really, really look at people and look at cultures. And I have used that 1 year of learning about people still today. So I went to university. I took a whole bunch of courses in business, economics. I ended up working in a marketing in a large petroleum company downstream. And then I went from there to an advertising agency because I really enjoyed the communications and understanding consumers. And I was at Ogilvy, one of I guess it's the 7th largest in the world. Good place to start a career. And I was there for a little over 10 years. And then I went from there to a smaller agency. And then I went client side again after that. And since then, I have been fascinated by brands. I have a blog that I write about everything about branding.
There you go. And you're here. I was going to say your boots give you away as a Canadian. We love our Canadian friends and go Rush. And South Park Boys, or not South Park Boys, Trailer Park Boys.
Trailer Park, yep.
There you go. You're kind of mixing the two brands that probably should be mixed. But yeah, I'm a big Trailer Park Boys fan. In fact, everyone says I'm Ricky. So I don't know. I don't know. There you go. What are you going to do? I'm still trying to get over that. At least I'm not. I don't know. There's some jokes there, but we're just going to leave it on the table. So what made you choose these 20 women? What was the the basis for, okay, why are these women stand out? Why are they the branding queens?
So yeah, I had to come up with some sort of criteria because there's a lot of women out there that have been successful building brands and building companies in particular. So it had to be somebody that went beyond just one country. Had to be someone who had built a cult-like following. So it had to be retail. It had to be something that would connect with the consumers, the general consumers. It had to be. There had to be enough evidence that this person was involved with the branding, that they were not just sort of, the administrator and they hired all these people, that they actually were directly involved with creating the brand. And then It had to be successful, and it still had to be successful today. So that was the criteria I used, and that's how I found it. Goes back 200 years.
Really?
The oldest. This is the oldest brand, which is Vive Clicquot, to the youngest one, which is 20 years old, which is Spanx.
Yeah,
which is Sarah Blakely.
That's a hell of a story, man. That's a hell of a story, but it's everywhere now. I mean, it's rocket ship to fame. If you're familiar with that story, yeah. So in the book, you feature a lot of different people. You 5 cosmetic and beauty brands, 4 women apparel innovators, 3 media moguls, 3 manufacturers of vacuum cleaners, airplanes, toys, 2 bakers, 1 winemaker, 1 direct marketer, and a real queen. Do you want to tease out who the real queen is?
Queen Elizabeth II.
Ah, I've heard of her.
Yeah.
God save the queen. Well, he kind of fucked that up, but recently. But man, I would have killed to have sat down with her and just been like, hey, tell me about Churchill. Tell me about like all the secret stuff that you want to talk shit about behind people's back, because you're just like, that guy was a buffoon, or tell me all the dirty laundry that you've seen over 11 U.S. presidents, 7 to 10 prime ministers, or I don't know how many, because I don't care, Americans, just her journey of life. You have to look at her life and go, what is it like to live 100 years through the most tumultuous 100-year century or centuries of time. And God, I would have loved, but I wouldn't want the PR. I'd want to hear like the shit, the dirty laundry.
Well, yeah, but the consistency of that woman's representation and how she represented herself in the public every single day is incredible. I mean, I always sort of, when you talk about personal branding, I kind of like go, do you really need to be a personal brand? Because that's like being a box of cereal. You have to be so rigid in being a brand. And I would say she is probably the rigidest brand I've ever seen, in the sense of being consistent always of how she looked, how she presented herself. I mean, she only actually communicated 15 minutes every year, and that was in her holiday address. Outside of that, she did very brief little introductions, or congratulations or welcome, but they were very brief and they were scripted. That's all we know of her.
Yeah, and I mean, it's pretty smart. It seems like the more information you give people, the more they can sometimes turn into ugly stuff. Yeah. I was listening to the Sam Harris podcast recently, and they were talking about how, as a politician, if you take a side, good or bad, you're just going to get thrown stuff. So sometimes it's better just to ride down the middle, or just not say anything at all. Because if you give people ammo, they'll shoot guns at you, basically. So controlling the PR, managing it, and everything else. Any other tease outs of the book maybe you want to tease out, or stories that you found that were fascinating, that surprised you?
Yeah, so I'll kind of maybe frame it, because I had to frame the book into, I call the 5 C's of branding. And I did it intentionally, in the sense of, could I find each of these women, could I actually rate how well they did under the 5 C's? Quickly, I'll just tell you what the 5 C's are. First one is commitment, which is your purpose, your values. It's your principle, your vision. The second one is construct, which is your logo, your color palette, the tonality. Is your brand fun? Is it a luxury brand? The next one was community, which is your customers, your employees. The following was content, which is all of your advertising, marketing, PR, everything, your social media. And then the final one was consistency. And I kind of looked at these to see if I could rate them and say, but I couldn't. It was all so subjective, in the sense of they all had all 5, and all of them had them at a very high degree. So it would have been really difficult to try and say, okay, this one's better than that one. But early when we were talking, one of the things that seem to come out most often. And again, when you're starting a brand, you have no money. You're living day to day, right?
Mhm.
And so you have no ability to spend money on advertising and get awareness. So you had to build it yourself and free advertising. So public relations became really important. And for many of these women, they were brilliant,
Mhm.
absolutely brilliant at getting journalists to write about them. And they still are writing about some of these women today.
There you go. We were talking about in the pre-show. Women are great at PR. I think like 95, 96% of PR agents are women. They're great at spin. They're great at marketing. It's kind of inherent. In fact, where's the equality in that business? I don't know. Whatever. There's no equality in the universe. So these are not only great stories about women, but you've incorporated basically great branding lessons in here, where people can learn branding and the importance of branding and branding examples. What is branding? We talk about that. We kick it around. You always hear it everywhere. What is branding?
So I've kind of adapted a quote from Maya Angelou, and my this is my definition of a brand. A brand isn't about what it says or does, but how it makes its customers feel.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, all of the transactions, all of the different communications that you or I are being consuming of a brand, that experience, it's all about at the end of it, it's that feeling that you have with that brand. Do you like
Hmm.
it?
Yeah. Does it emotionally connect with you and appeal to you? Just about anything you take and utilize. Like I'm loyal to some brands. I love the crap out of them. I'll buy just about anything they do. You see that in the Apple brand a lot.
Yeah.
People are incredibly loyal to that brand, even even though it's good, quite expensive. They just put out, I think, one of the most expensive phones, and people are like, "I'll buy it." And I know people they buy every new Apple every year. I don't. They must be richer than I am.
There's ones that stand in line.
Yeah, they stand in line for hours to buy it. And well, I have a lot of money. I'm not standing in line for anything. And I'm an Android fan anyway, but no, the brand loyalty that's out there and the feeling you get. I recently went out to a couple weeks ago. I went to dinner to this beautiful place on the water at a beautiful lake here in Utah, and I can't think of many places that are here in Utah that are on the lake. That you can sit right next to the water and sit out and enjoy the scenery of a beautiful lake and canyon, and then get a fine food. Usually you can get a burger or something at most joints, but and so there's fine food, but the service was atrocious. I mean, it was just it was just atrocious. Like one of the things I asked for was a side of fries. They totally forgot about it, and then I asked other people, and I just had a horrible experience. Well, the food was good, and the ambiance was wonderful. So I wrote them a note and said, you really need to train your servers and you need to get it right because this is just stupid. In fact, I quit. I quit the dessert and waved off getting dessert and went up to Sundance and got my dessert ski resort. And then I just came back over the weekend because I'm trying to enjoy the ambiance before it's gone. So I'm like, fuck it. If the service sucks, I'll at least get this ambiance, as it's getting cold here in winter. And they actually listened to my advice and they totally changed my experience to where they got some professional waiter in there. He knew exactly what he was doing. They had people rotating through the table, checking on stuff, making sure your drink was full, all that sort of good stuff. And I had a great experience, just an awesome experience. And so I bring that up because it's interesting to see the dichotomy that it was. And I won't get into the details, but it was just such a horrible service and horrible experience in the one hand, and then this in the same frame or atmosphere having a totally different experience and make me emotionally love the brand and change how and you're right, it comes down to that feeling. If I feel good and I have a great experience, but it's got to be like the full thing. You can't I seem to see a lot of brands nowadays that are like, well, we gave you great products, so our service is shit. And
Yeah.
you're like, you don't understand. It's not giving me the full feels, if you will.
No.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
No, absolutely. I mean, you can have the greatest product, but if you don't know how to actually use it, or if there's a problem with it and you can't fix it, it's useless.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've actually, the damage to the reputation of what you're going to talk about, because you're going to sit there and go, oh, that was a horrible experience. I'm not going to share that with anybody. That's the first thing you're going to share. But you're also going to share the best experience you've had too.
Definitely.
I mean,
I never shut up about stuff that I love. Like my people on Facebook are like, hey, he's talking about that same company again. What an idiot.
Well, Instagram, look at Instagram today. I mean, that is a marketing dream, to be able to have, your customers, your loyal customers, your advocates out there pushing your product every day. That's all free.
Yeah, and it's all free. Yeah, like I think that's why half my Facebook people think I'm an idiot, because I'm like, you should really be getting paid for that, man. You love it. I mean, there's certain products I can't live without, and the reputation of their domain is so important to me. Now, let me ask you this: you brought up Instagram. It seems like everybody now has become a brand in themselves. Obviously, the Chris Voss Show is a brand, but we weren't like sitting out and going, we're going to be a brand. We're just like, I don't know, this idiot's got something to say, so we'll give him a mic. And we couldn't figure out what to call it. We're just like, call after the idiot with the mic. So that's how the Chris Voss Show got started. But that and probably some narcissism or something. I don't know. Clearly, people have seen that over 15 years. My dark triad traits, but basically, you see this on Instagram. Everyone's a brand. Everyone's brand building. Women are really big on Instagram brand building. You see a lot of, a lot of sexual nature being sold over there. Hotness, even in business brands. Like I'll see that translate into LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. But everyone's a brand now. You're a brand. I'm a brand. We're a speaker. We're authors. We're podcasters. All that sort of stuff. And then we have to establish the whole brand matrix of, whatever that looks like on the website, et cetera, et cetera. Is that a true analysis? Am I reading the tea leaves correctly?
Yeah, I think we've used the term brand very loosely when we talk about personal branding. The example I used of Queen Elizabeth II is true. I mean, Oprah Winfrey is a brand. Martha Stewart is a brand. Am I a brand? I'd like to think I'm not. And the reason I don't want to be a brand is I'm bigger than a brand. In essence, I have lots of different interests. I'm working on a book that's a cookbook. I'm working on another book that is it's a photo book, journalistic kind of photo book. And when you're a brand, you have to be something to somebody. You're solving a problem. Or you're entertaining. You famous people become brands. They actually start with being famous. And then they actually take it and they commercialize it by becoming a brand. But when you become a brand, you get into trouble because particularly famous people, they're more than just what their one thing is that they're promoting or what they're doing. So, if you want to go into one genre, singer, for example, and you say, oh, you know what, I don't want to be a country singer anymore. I'm going to go do this. And I can tell you, your audience is going to say, no, we want you to be a country. We don't want you to be that over there. Yeah. So you give up. You give up your freedom. Oprah Winfrey always said, she said, I'm not a brand. I do not want to be a brand. Until one day she realized that one of the key attributes of being a brand is being consistent. And that's why it's one of my C's. If you're consistent always, and she has always been very consistent, she finally realized that, yes, I guess I am a brand. Well, obviously she is, because she's got, her face is all over the place. And, anything she touches turns to gold as well. But you give up. So if you're a person that you're selling yourself, if you're a consultant or your service that you're giving to others and solving their problems, then yeah, you probably have to be a brand.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't over engineer it, because branding is really, it's really complex.
Yeah.
And
Well, I would let me debate you on that and push
all
back
right,
on a little bit that you are not a brand. Oprah does a lot of things, and I get your context about how if you're a country singer, you may be locked in. Like one of my favorite a good example is this is going to date me in the '80s, Aldo Nova. He put out two hard rock, pseudo almost heavy metal, but really hard rock, hard hitting albums. And somehow he just was like, hey, I want to go mainstream. I don't want to, I don't want this niche. I want to be, on all the FM radios, which he kind of was, but he wanted to, go big.
yeah,
And so he put out a third album that he stepped out of that whole thing. And people like me and his audience, I especially remember it, go, what the fuck did you just do? But there are people too that can transcend brands. Like I think
yes,
Taylor Swift has put out some makeup or some perfume. I'm not a Swiftie, so I think I just heard this a little bit.
yeah,
She's
oh
been
yeah,
able to do things. So is Oprah. Who's a country star that Dolly Parton, like she just put out a heavy metal album, I think, and people buy anything she does. But people, my argument for this debate is people buy you, and you are the brand. And so people will say to me, you know what, Chris, I don't like some of the things you say, or sometimes you're controversial, or sometimes you just I'm not really controversial. I challenge what people will think. I'm the out of the box guy. I'm the red pill guy. So I'm going to try and not go with everything all the time and go, okay, well, we're all marching this way. I'm going to be like the guy who goes, why the fuck are we marching this way?
right.
And people are like, hey, you're out of line. It's like that's what I do. But people know that's my brand, and they know I'm going to be trying to be honest, integrity, truthful, what you say, consistency. Now, and people like me, and they just want to go, they just go, hey, I want to see what this idiot boy is going to do, because he always is up to something interesting. And I think people that won't follow you as your brand, or what I'm accusing you of being a brand, is that they like you and your character and your
Yes,
consistency, and they don't
yes,
care if you do a book or you do a cookbook or whatever it is. They're just like, I like this guy. I like his morals, his ethics, his professionalism, his whatever it is that appeals to them, and they're going to follow you to the ends of the earth. I don't know. That's my argument.
no, I don't disagree. I'm not going to argue on that in the sense of your values, because we all have our values,
Hmm.
and that's your backstop, right? That's where
Hmm.
your foundation will be. But I'm not sure it's really that important just for an everyday person to be on Instagram.
Uh,
Uh, I mean, we can all be on Instagram and we can be famous and we
hmm.
can be liked, but I don't know if you need a logo, you need a publicist, you need to have, a website, you need to have all the different things that you would normally have as a brand.
Hmm. I think people have kind of thought of becoming a brand, and that's their whole positioning.
So
I don't know.
there's a
They
great
want to
quote.
be.
There's a great quote, and
Yeah.
I don't know where it came from, but I've heard it a couple of times. Brands want to become more human.
Mm.
Humans want to become more like brands.
There you go. There you go.
And we can go down. I mean, if we want to, we can talk about social media. Its whole positioning wants us to be brands,
Hmm.
so that's content for them. They want us to be always out there promoting ourselves.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know if it's true or not. That seems somewhat dark, but I don't know if we have to be all brand. Do we have to be ourselves? Yes. Do we
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
be, do we have to be true to ourselves? Absolutely. But do I need a logo? Do I need to be on social and all the channels? Do I need to have a website? Do I need to do a blog? Do I need to do a podcast every day? It's, I don't know. I think a good resume is probably the best thing for most people.
There you go. But even like LinkedIn, being on LinkedIn, how you present yourself when we talk to
That's right.
the things. But I get your point. Do we have to be a brand? No, we can just be freaking human beings and just kind of walk around and just be like, I'm going to live my best life. But it seems like social media in this dark Pandora's box that's been opened has kind of turned everybody into some sort of branding thing. Everybody's a blogger. Everybody's got to have some sort of opinion on some stupid thing today. Go onto Facebook, whether it's telling me what you ate for breakfast and posting a picture of it, you're framing a brand, I think. But you're right. Not everybody has to do it, but it seems like everyone's doing it, just like
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah.
So,
And we're judging each other
yeah,
so drastically
yeah,
by all of this, what is really evidence, right?
hmm
That
yeah,
doesn't disappear.
yeah. And even if people aren't like communicating a brand, I've seen people basically communicate, well, like you say, consistency, I think is what I keep coming back to is, and when you see people break out of their consistency and do something that's the uh, alternate of their brand or the opposite of their brand, like you're like, wow, I kind of trusted you, and you're
Mhm.
you're really that person I see now. And I don't know that I really want to buy it because you basically, like you see a lot of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about brand hypocrisy? Do we want to wander into that?
No.
And no, okay, we'll just leave that off the resume. One thing you talk about in the book, because that's a whole different thing we can get into about brand
Oh, it
hypocrisy
is.
and how not walking your brand. That's a whole other show. You mentioned the book, or you talk about the book. Are women better brand builders? Women consume over 75% of brands. I think they control, what is it, 95 or 90% of household spending. So are women better brand builders?
So what I've found, and again, going back to the 20 branding queens,
Mm-hmm.
is women are more empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and empathy is really important when you're building a brand.
If you want those feelings of being connected to a brand.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a starting point. And the other part is they do understand other women. And no surprise, when you listed a lot of these brands, they are targeted to women.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it was natural for them to communicate and to solve a problem that they had. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we talked a bit about Spanx with Sarah Blakely. She
Mm-hmm.
had a problem, she had a problem and she solved it and she built a brand.
Mm-hmm. There's no guy coming up with Spanx. Like we're just like, what? We have
Well,
holy underwear we've been wearing for 15 years.
let,
What
let me
was Spanx?
let me tell you a side story here, because when she was trying to get a prototype, so she went to there's actually all in North Carolina. I think it's North Carolina, where all of the hosiery manufacturers are.
Mm-hmm.
And she went, and she was at the time, she was a salesperson. She was a very good salesperson. She trained people because she was so good. And she thought, okay, I'll be able to talk my way into one of these manufacturers to get them to do a prototype. And she came back, failed. Not
Mm-hmm.
one of them said, I ain't interested. But a week later, she gets a call from one of them, and he says, hey, I've reconsidered. I'm willing to help you. And she goes, why? And he goes, I was telling my daughters at dinner, and they said, Dad, you're crazy. Call her.
Wow. Her story reminds me of the story of I don't know how much of it's true or whatnot, but basically back in the day, bras were made by men and designed by men who have no idea what it's like to wear a bra.
And
And
the
I
hosiery is the same thing. The
yeah,
hosiery,
yeah.
what she discovered was they had this cutout
Mhm.
template of the different sizes, and of course, they're just going lengthwise. There's no width dimension attached to this, so it was pretty archaic in the sense of there's like four
Mhm.
sizes. Well, we know there's not four sizes of people out there.
There's not. I'm one of them that's several sizes.
So getting back to it, they had this ability to understand their target audience very well. They wanted to solve a problem. That's what brands do. They solve problems.
There you go. One of my friends, Kara Golden, she's the founder and CEO of Hintwater. She went into this where, she wanted to drink something healthy and something that maybe had some fruit in it, but was still like water, but more enjoyable than just plain old water, but also healthy for you. And she was addressing a market where it was Coke and Pepsi, and hey, would you like 5 pounds of sugar with your drink there? That sort of thing. And all the ingredients you can't really read. And so she come up with tried to do different ways to build a brand that had that was talking about water. And this was something that she wanted as a woman, to drink healthy and lose weight and just live your best life and not be drinking 5 pounds of sugar in everything, or drinking diet cola that's got rat poison in it, that sort of thing. And so she created that. But you're right, women are probably better at like I said, PR agents and other things, because they can connect that emotion and they can take and put it into the language, they put it into the marketing, put it into the PR spin and their emotion, because they're very emotional based, and so they're more connected to their feelings, where men, I mean, we have feelings, but we're mostly stoic by nature, and so we're just like whatever.
There's another really important element to this, and that's listening. Listening to your customers. I remember, I will build it and they will come. Right? That's a male approach to marketing, or to building a product. Ford, I'm gonna give you you can choose whatever color as long as it's black.
The IBM way. Yeah.
Right. So no, they understood who they were communicating with, and they listened. They didn't know. But here's the other interesting thing. None of these women had any formal education to build the brand. They were not how do you become an entrepreneur? You just do it, right?
Just do it.
And they understood that they knew nothing. And that's probably the best way to go in, because you learn, and you learn from others, you listen, you surround yourself with good people. Nothing's worse than if you think you know everything and you're going to solve it all, because you're going to eventually run into a situation that you can't. And you don't have anybody else around to help you, because you know everything. So why would anyone else want to help you? So they actually started, absolutely, they still had an understanding of where they were going, because most of them, people said you were crazy. It's not going to work. And they had to have that persistence and that belief in themselves. But at the same time, they learned from others all the way through the journey. And they had to learn about marketing. They had to learn about production, distribution. They had to learn about, employees. They were continuous learners. I mean, look at Martha Stewart today. She has reinvented herself every couple of years.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of pies right now. I'm so hungry just talking about Martha Stewart. I'm thinking of her pies right now. Anything she cooks, she's got such a great personality too, and it's always so warm and wonderful. And you just want her to be your mom or grandma, where you're just like, "Mom, will you make me a sandwich?" And she, especially when she makes desserts. Oh my God! All right, we need to get off this, because clearly Chris is on his intermittent fasting thing with the food. I saw one other cool female brand that I saw that was really unique was, we talked about the black colors of the, there was the IBM man, and of course the Fords, and probably the Edsel. A woman probably should have got involved with designing that, because that thing was ugly as hell. But one thing I saw, it was a great story where a woman, in the proliferation of where more women are single now than ever. In fact, Morgan Stanley says by 2030, 45% of women between childbearing age 25 to 44 will be single. That they don't have, a man around the house to help do, the honeydews, fix stuff with the tools and stuff. And so she went down to Home Depot and wherever, I don't know if it's Home Depot, but the store, and none of the tools appealed to her. right? And she's like, these are all masculine looking tools and colors and tools. And so she said, well, I think I see a lane here for an innovation. And so she came up with a tool line that was more marketed towards women. Women have smaller hands than men. So, they don't have, how they grip the tools is important. And then she made them all pink, which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
And so now, she's hit that lane where, she can make these tools that women will use around the house and stuff that is more related to that. And we've seen the proliferation. We joked about the black colors, the old IBM guy where everyone had to wear a black suit and tie to the IBM. We've seen the proliferations. Everything's got 50 million shades of color now. It used to be when I was growing up, it seemed like there was, I don't know, that ugly olive green thing that your refrigerator was, and the ugly orange, and the red shag carpet, or that dog poop colored shag carpet, And now everything comes in 50 million colors. So God bless it. It's definitely improved.
That's diversity.
There you go. Diversity of colors and everyone's got different flavors, choices, personalities, and you can find what emotionally identifies with you. I mean, I've had employees come to work in my office. They're like, "Hey, can I paint my office?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "It just doesn't make me feel well." And I'm like, "I'm not paying you to feel well. I'm paying you to do your job." But then I finally had to relent and go, "Okay, fine. If it makes you happy, you can paint your office."
So have you ever seen a pink Cadillac?
Yep.
And when you see a pink Cadillac, what do you think?
I think they work for that one multi-level marketing organization.
Mary Kay.
Mary Kay.
Cosmetic.
There you go.
She's one of the ladies in the book.
Mm.
So she did exactly similar to your story. She took the color pink and she owned it as one of her colors. Mm-hmm. And that was her signature color. But brilliant to get Cadillacs painted pink, because they didn't come in pink. And she would be out there giving these away, or giving leases, I think in some cases, to some of the top salespeople. And that was a successful person.
Oh, yeah.
When you saw the car, you knew that there was an successful Mary Kay salesperson.
And I've never been to a Mary Kay thing. I've never been associated with the brand. I've never used the product at all. I just know that from the public forum of seeing those cars and being like, why are these pink cars running around? And of course, what an iconic sort of success image, where you're saying, hey, this person's successful. They've earned this and done well. And you can too, if you want to, sell well for Mary Kay. And just brilliant from those sort of marketing levels.
So I got another story, a color story so this is Olive and Beach. So Beach aircraft. There's small planes. Mm-hmm. They're still flying today out there. They've since been bought out by another company. I'm not sure who owns them now, but they're still flying. These are beautiful little planes. And when her husband passed away, she took over the business. It became an international business before she sold it, and she retired. But she had what they call the beach blue, and she had this. It was her favorite color, and so she had interiors of a lot of these planes, and there are very high end planes. The executives would fly on these planes. Doctors, lawyers would actually fly them themselves, but there were also the others that were. You would have your own pilot. And so she had this blue color in her plane, and she had logos. And so when Cadillac, because she used to buy Cadillac every couple of years, and she would get them to paint it her beach blue color, because it was her favorite color. Anyways, one day she got an order from Cadillac of, I think, about 10 planes or something. And she was asked, they had asked in the specifications that they had to remove all of the beach logos off the plane. Now, there's beach logos all over. Dials have beach logos on them. There was all over the plane. There was all of these different logos. They had to remove them for the 10 planes that they bought. So the next time she went to get her Cadillac painted and a brand new car. She said, and I'd like all the Cadillac logos, please removed from my Cadillac.
Wow. Wow.
Great
That's
story.
that's interesting. Yeah, branding is everything when it comes down to it. So as we go out, this has been a great discussion, Kim. As we go out, give us your final thoughts, final pitch on the book to readers out there to pick it up.
So it's a really easy read book. If you're an entrepreneur, I think any entrepreneur would gain knowledge from reading this. Not only will they gain not only knowledge, but they'll actually gain enthusiasm of learning from how these other women started actually from ground zero, and they built these iconic brands. And they sure did everything work? No, but they learned and they actually went in with an open mind. So these are short stories. There's 20 of them. As I said, you could probably read one each night before you go to bed if you've got that time. And you'll also learn about branding as well. But I think if you are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, after you read these 20 stories, I think you'll be inspired to want to be.
There you go. And like I say, women are the driving force of purchasing. I mean, they really are. Women control or influence 85% of consumer spending in the United States.
Yeah.
Includes 91% of new home purchases. I learned that as a realtor. You do not sell the man, you sell the woman. The woman makes the decision on buying the home. The man just has to pay for it. Women's purchasing power ranges from 5 trillion to 15 trillion annually. And their influence has grown as they've gained economic power, like the Morgan Stanley I cited earlier. The reason Morgan Stanley did that report was to tell people, hey, women spending more money on consumer goods and stuff is just going to keep increasing. And you need to bring products to market and services to market that bear that sort of thing. And so, yeah, if you're an entrepreneur, this is a really important thing to understand because most times in a household, a woman has control of the consumer spending. She's the one buying on Amazon. She's the one going to the store still usually, buying groceries, clothing. She's even sometimes buying the stuff for men, targeted to men, because I've had plenty of girlfriends say, hey, I bought this for you. Wear this. And I'm like, no. So there's that. Even women's economic influence increased with age. Women 50 and older reported to control 15 trillion of all spending. So, yeah, you definitely want to market to the purse strings.
I'll give you just another stat, though, that's somewhat depressing. First of all, entrepreneurs, it's about 50-50. Women entrepreneurs out there as men entrepreneurs. But when you look at venture capital, I've got a figure from 2021, 2%. 2% goes to women startups
Really?
out there. It's like a rounding error.
Yeah.
So there's still work to be done to try and level the playing field for allowing them to get ahead and to build brands. Because today you need to get that depth very quickly, particularly if it's a digital platform. You need investment dollars to get that platform up and running and get the base that you need quickly.
There you go. There you go. Well, Silicon Valley has gotten some crap for that, and I know they've tried to balance it, or they say they're trying to balance it. I don't know. I'm not in Silicon Valley, so it's not my problem. But yeah, there's definitely some interest there. But yeah, as a business, I would love to be able to sell, women's brands to women. They're so loyal to them. It's incredible, between makeup and perfume and all the things they buy. And they're usually incredibly brand loyal, I think, aren't they? It seems to me they are.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, when they love those purses and those shoes, those Christian Dior, I don't even understand it all. I'm an alpha man. I'm still wearing the same underwear from 10 years ago and the same shorts from 10 years ago. And until they fall off me in public and I'm like, I should probably stop wearing these, or the judge says so. I'm still just doing my thing, but I'm happy, and that's what matters. Thank you very much, Kim, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. It's been super insightful, and everyone should pick up your book. Give us your .com so people can find you on the interwebs, please.
Sure. It's Rozdeba, ROZDEBA @.com.
There you go.
You can also find me on LinkedIn too.
Thanks for this fun conversation. We really appreciate it.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
There you go. Thanks to our audience for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, and Chris Voss 1, or else. I don't know. It just sounded funny at the time. It's a callback joke. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.